I've got the Raritan PDU here. It's been reset to its factory defaults. It's currently on a network with no DHCP server running, so that's why we've got the IP address 169.254.226.60. I'm going to log in as the admin user, supply the default password because it's been factory reset, prompting me to set a new admin password. And now if I show the PDU, it's got the default name of my PDU, and if we show the network details, we can see that the config method is set to DHCP. Now, I've got a Kea DHCP server. I'm going to set it up with a configuration which doesn't use DHCP hook, so a fairly standard configuration. Copy that config into place. Then we're going to start the Kea DHCP server with a little script. Now, in this other window, I'm watching the journal for the system, and we can see the DHCP messages here. It's sending out a packet to assign an IP address of 10.7.5.100. If we go back onto the PDU, let's just exit, and we can see that it's picked up that new address. We can confirm by logging back in as the admin user. Show PDU, still got the default name, but this time we show the network, still using DHCP, but it's got the IP address from the Kea DHCP server. Now I'd like to do something using DHCP hooks, which will allow us to get the Raritan PDU to not only get a DHCP IP address, but then run a hook that will then log into the Raritan PDU and set the PDU up with a static IP address. So let's see if we can get that to work. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to stop the Kea DHCP server. I'm then going to copy into place the configuration that does have hooks. Now before I start the server, I'm going to go back and I'm going to reset this unit back to factory defaults. Now while it's doing that, we'll start the DHCP server again. And now we shall wait. So the PDU has come up, it's got its IP address, same as before with DHCP, but now we've got this information about a hook running, and the hook has waited 15 seconds to allow the Raritan PDU to come up fully. Then we've got a message saying that it's going to be configured with this IP address 10.7.22.20. And now it's telling us that it has been completed. So if we go back onto the serial console, we can see here initially the PDU came up with the DHCP address, but watch what happens now. If I now press return, we can see that it's got 10.7.22.20, and if I log in as admin, I've not been asked to set a new password because the hook script has already set the new password for me. So I've logged in with a password that isn't the default password. We can see here that the PDU, not only has it been given a static IP address, it's also been given a name. So this is in the City Data Center, Data Hall 1, Rack Cabinet A, IL 1, PDU 1, and if we show the network, the key difference here is that the IP config is now static, and that's the static IP address which has been allocated. So by using a DHCP hook and some background scripts, I've been able to get this PDU from factory defaults up to a state where it's got a specified admin password, it's been assigned a PDU name, and it's been given a static IP feed for address, net mask and default gateway. Pretty good stuff. Okay, so how did all this actually work? Well, if we go back onto the Kea server and let's look at the differences between the config that doesn't have hooks and the config that does have hooks. And it's pretty simple. It's we're basically just saying that we're going to use the hooks library. We're going to use a hook library called run script, and this is the script that we're going to run, this script here. So let's have a very quick look at this. We won't go into the details. We'll show you all of the script. But this basically gets called when the DHCP server allocates an IP address, also when it renews and does other various bits and pieces, but there's a bit of interesting logic in here. Now, the key thing that then happens is that this script calls an expect script, this one, to then actually automate an SSH session to log into the PDU with its current DHCP address and then perform the config, i.e. to give it a name and to set a static IP address. If we just take a quick look at that script, we can see it is indeed an expect script, and it does things like it logs into the, we specify the various bits and pieces which it needs from there. Now there is also a config file that drives all of this called hook deploy, and this basically maps the MAC address of my PDUs and provides a name for the PDU, the interface in the PDU that's going to be configured, the IP address with the net mask and the default gateway. So using all of this, the DHCP hooks can run this script, and if there's a matching MAC address in this file, the script will then go and log into that PDU and configure it. So it's a really good way to, if you've got a lot of PDUs to get configured, if you've got an accurate record of the MAC addresses and where each PDU is and the details that need to be assigned to it, you can set up your file here and then just switch all of your PDUs on. They'll initially use DHCP, they'll get the DHCP address, they'll run this hook, it will get logged in, and the static IP address will then get set correctly. And that's all of your PDUs configured on the network with a static IP address. If you'd like to see these scripts in a bit more detail or find out exactly some of the more kind of precise ways that I've had to approach this, because there are a few little tips and tricks and little traps you can fall into, then please do get in touch.